Good morning, Jim. I'm Paul Wainwright. I thought I'd put together this little video to show you your prints. I just pulled them this morning. I figured you might like to have an opportunity to see what it is I'm going to be sending to you. And so if you don't mind, I'm just going to flip through these. I'm obviously leaning over a table here to see if I'm all lined up. Anyway, so these are loose prints. They're signed lightly on the back. They do contain some handwriting on them, which cannot be seen from the front. These are just darkroom notes to myself on how I made the print in case I ever wanted to recreate it. So this is, now this order will be different from what you put in your email. This is number 149S, and looks like this. I should mention that there's not always a nice clean white border around the edges, and I'll see if I can remember to explain why that is later on. This is 153A. This paper in between them is archival all rag non-acidic acid-free paper, so that will help preserve the images in shipment and also preserve them if you keep them in a box. This is 150R. How this was made is the pendulum is swinging back and forth in a straight line, and the camera is rotating. It rotates about 3 times in about a 10-minute period. So that's how that one was made. Most of these others are just a classic Blackburn pendulum. When I was in school, it was called a double pendulum, but that's something different these days. This is 143J, a series of figure eights. This is one exposure from the camera's point of view, and it's obviously a 2-to-1 ratio. You've got an oscillator going this way and an oscillator going this way, essentially. And so I start the pendulum off, and the phases between the periods or between the motions change in time because they're not exactly in tune. And so when it's making a figure eight, I turn the LED on, make that one. Then I turn the LED off and wait an amount of time that I have predetermined, and it keeps precessing and gets back into a figure eight pattern for the one in the middle. Total exposure time is probably about 10 minutes, although it looks like there's only about 1 minute of exposure of each of the figure eight patterns. Since you have a technical background, I guess, from what I saw you do for a living, I'll give you sort of the technical input on a couple of these things. This is 128P. It is again a 2-to-1 ratio pendulum. I might add that at times there are dots that appear. The 16 by 20 that you ordered has a bunch of dots. This is not the LED blinking. It's as the LED swings, it crosses itself. The pattern crosses itself after a while, and everywhere where the pattern crosses, you get twice the exposure of the film. And there's an odd thing about photographic film in that it has an exposure threshold below which you don't get anything on the negative at all. So this being very high contrast film, every time the pattern crosses, the path crosses, you get double the exposure, and so therefore it looks like dots. Sort of a little technical thing about how that one was made, and a couple of the others. And this is 143P. Again, the dots are caused by the lines crossing themselves. This is 128G. This is, the pendulum is strung from a single point, and it's started in an oval, and the oval deteriorates. In this one, the dots are created by the LED. The LED is being fed by alternating current. LEDs only give off light when the current's going in one direction. In the reverse direction, there's no current flow, so no light. So this is blinking 60 times a second. That's what causes those dots. And this is 143G. Again, it's a 2-to-1 ratio, very high contrast film image to make that one. And this is the last of the 11x14s, 127C. Again, this is almost a 1-to-1 ratio of periods, but not quite. When I show you the 16x20, I'll go into a little bit more about how I made that. So those are the 11x14s. This is the 16x20 that you ordered. It's 126G. And again, the dots that you see in this are caused by the path crossing itself over time. It's a very high contrast film, so you get a lot of very white around the edges where the LED has illuminated the film numerous times. And in this case, the pendulum is strung using an asymmetrical gimbals. Gimbals, you might know, is a device that keeps a compass level in a sailboat, but I built one quite a bit sturdier than the typical sailboat compass, where the rotations in one direction are at a slightly different level than the rotations in the other. So this is almost a 1-to-1 period, but not quite. The pendulum was started here, and it started swinging diagonally, and since the period of motion of the two directions of oscillation is not exactly the same, over time it became an oval, and then it went back to being a swing in the other direction. And it took some doing to time exactly when to turn the LED off so that the pattern didn't continue and become jumbled up. But anyway, that's a little bit of technical detail with that. I'm going to send you an email in a few minutes and give you a link to this, and give you one more time to check with your wife and see if she still thinks you're nuts. And I'll probably ship these on Wednesday of this week. That would be Wednesday the 6th. So hope you enjoyed the little video, and we'll be talking to you soon. Thanks.